Hey everybody, it's Conscious Medium Brandon Russ, and thank you so much for joining me. Oh, so many changes along the way. As you know, I love to talk about the education of things such as, say, astrology. Well, I had a really unique thing happen on a live a couple of weeks ago, and I had two people with the exact same triad, the sun, moon, and rising. And the two of them have agreed to join me here today so we can do a chart comparison and learn a little bit about what makes somebody tick. This is where you have to pay attention to things like the angles of things and the influences of different planets, but yet the triad is the same. I want to welcome our guests here. I'll tell you what, I'm going to move me over here. I'm going to move you over there. I have Debbie and Andy. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Hello,
Debbie,
great. Thank you.
This is great. Listen, thanks, guys, for volunteering this. As you guys know, I love to kind of do an educational component to everything here. And we are obviously going to talk about a specific date, but you both have the birth date of January 18th, which is really kind of, unique because it could happen. The sun, moon, rising could happen throughout the months, right? Or throughout the day, even in a particular time. But for the two of you to be as close to having the triad, exact is really kind of interesting. So let me get this straight. So you guys are Capricorns. Raise your hand if you're a Capricorn. Raise your hand if you're a Libra rising. Right, Debbie? You're a Libra rising. Yeah, that's all right. And what's your moon again?
Virgo.
Virgo.
Wow. So listen, you are the triad of the apocalypse. I'm just going to say there's two of the four horsemen, everybody. Welcome.
Sometimes it does feel that way.
I'm having a sense of humor about it. We're all kind of here. But what I thought was really interesting is a lot of people will ask about, oh, well, I'm this moon or I'm this rising. And, why do I get along with one and the other? Now, just as a basic, the sun is your essence. It's kind of like what drives you and where you're at. The ascending is what's going to make you propelled and what your driving force is. And the moon is about the emotional component. Now, if I didn't know any better, I would think that if somebody came to me with a Capricorn sun, with a Libra rising, and then a Virgo moon, I would say you're probably a tough customer with really high standards. But at the end of the day, so long as you have the higher ground, you're going to seek the ability to be equal. So you might have all the candy, but you're going to make sure other people have it. How accurate would you say that is, Debbie and Andy? Debbie,
Debbie first. Okay.
Well, I would say that I think the very last thing you said is probably truest.
Right. And again,
all the candy, yes, but I'll dole it out to everybody. So
exactly. It's almost like you need to win in order to make sure you can be judicious about it. Andy, what about you?
I would definitely say that's true. I would say my competitive drive was significantly stronger until I hit about 20. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I've grown up a bit. Like I don't need to worry about that so much anymore. And I feel like I'm not needing that anymore, but I do want everybody to win.
By the way, Libras are incredibly competitive. People don't realize that. People always think it's like an Aries or a Taurus thing. No. Libras tend to be very competitive because they want to be center stage. They want to be judicious and win so they can dole it out to others. By the way, that's where I came with that. Debbie, what about you? Did you see that you maybe had personality traits earlier in your life and then it moved a little bit different where you're like, okay, I don't have to win all the time or I don't have to be right?
That's hard to say in some areas, in some respect. And when it comes to work and career and that kind of thing, I would say that has pretty much stayed with me. When it comes to relationship, I tend to be the exact opposite. You can win. What do I need to do for you? Kind of thing. So
in a relationship, you're very giving. In a relationship, you're very much like, hey, I'm here for you, type of thing.
To a fault, probably. I've been told yes.
Virgo moon right there. Andy, what about you when you have when you're in a relationship, do you feel like, oh, I've got to do this for them and make sure that they're there, or does it shift a little bit? And by the way, this is where this comparison is going to get really interesting.
It's funny because my husband is a very patient man. He's actually a Capricorn sun and a Virgo rising. I always joked because he's the least Capricorn I've ever known in my entire life, because he just wants everybody to win all the time. I would say that I'm probably a very challenging person to live with. He doesn't ever tell me that. I would think, though, based on how I operate, that it's probably not all sunshine and rainbows for him.
Well,
but I do want, like, I have no problem. Like, I love spending money on my family. I love giving things to my family. Which is also not necessarily the most Capricorn thing ever, but
it is, however, a very Libra rising thing.
It is. Yeah.
It's a very Libra rising. Hold that thought for a second, Andy. I don't mean to cut you off, but Debbie, what about that for you? Do you find yourself being ultra generous into situations when you know,
completely,
like, this goes against my common sense, but I'm just going to be so...
right? Absolutely, yes. Can I afford it? No, but I really want to give it to him, so I'm going to.
That one, absolutely.
And again, I think what you're also identified is that kind of combination where it's like, as a Capricorn, you think you have to be everybody's foundation. As a Libra, you think you need to be the most popular of everything. And then that Virgo moon comes in and it's very particular. Virgo moons tend to have that part where it's like, you might have a very high standard for your person, but then it's also very kind of committed to make it work, where, Andy, your husband may come to you and be like, don't spend another cent. I don't know if we're going to be able to pay. I hope you like ramen,
You know what? He would never say that to me, though. He just lets me be.
Well, he's got his own Virgo tendencies there. And Debbie, you may also be like, I'm going to go to a fault, which, by the way, is the preset of a Virgo moon, to be like, I'm going to give and give and give. And it's like, you know what? I don't like you. And you know what? I don't like your cooking. And you're like, that's okay. I'll make something better tomorrow. Right. And again, notice how I took out all the super personal stuff, but you understand what I'm saying, where they might not be the kindest to you, but you're like, you know what? I'm going to get this right. I'm going to go ahead and get this right. How accurate
100%.
is. Yeah. Well, let's take a look at Debbie here. Debbie, here's your chart. Look at all of that party in the 11th house. So here you are with Virgo in your 11th house. You're at a 28-degree angle. But here's what's really, really interesting. Oh, I have the wrong time. I have to have the wrong time. Are you AM or PM?
PM.
And just like that, it's magic. The correct chart appears. I love editing software. I really do, guys. Thank you so much for hanging on here. So we're at 10:37 p.m. And Debbie, this is what our chart looks like. And you have a couple of very interesting things in this. First of all, right out of the gate, you see that your moon is in your 12th house in Virgo. And what's interesting is you are just inside Libra. So being born at 10:37, your Libra angle is at 0026. So if you were born even 5 minutes earlier, 10 minutes earlier, guess what? You would have been a Virgo rising. You would have been a double Virgo there. That's how close you came to being a double Virgo. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but that equality might not have looked the same. But how about this? How about Jupiter sitting on your ascendant here? So this is why, you probably act more like a Libra than you do as a Capricorn, because now your Capricorn sun is conjunct to Mercury. And Debbie, let's be honest, this is part of the reason why you're such a good-looking person, why you're a good-looking human right here. You got Mercury, and then you got Venus all conjunct here, right? Not necessarily right on top of each other, but at the 28th, you're almost out of being in Capricorn. Don't forget, you got about 2 days before it goes into Aquarius. So look at how close you are. And in the 4th house, your essence is going to be about family. Your essence is going to be about, whether it be having children, whether it be forming a family, whether it be taking care of your parents, all of those things are right there. You also have a very interesting thing with Leo, with Pluto and Leo at the 29th aneroch in this 11th house. This means that you are really about the people. Your motto might be, why can't we all get along, and why can't everything be equal?
That's quite astute and astounding. That's peace at all costs. That's kind of my cry.
Hey, it's in your chart. And you know what? Here with the Virgo moon at the 10 degrees here sitting in your 12th house means that you love a creator, but you don't have to define it. You've honored Mary, you've honored religions, you've honored the trees, you've probably gone through the cyclical nature of saying, like, I need to discover this on a routine basis. And at the end of the day, you're probably very well educated and skilled to talk about a lot of different walks of life. Would you agree with that?
Master of none, yes.
Listen, though, it's not about being a master. I mean, and by the way, that full quote is the jack of all trades, master of none. It goes on to talk about how you need that perspective in order to be well-rounded and to be the best person that you can be. Mm-hmm. So you, in this life, you have been working very hard in making sure that you are a complete person. That's a thing. Also, just as a little bit of a side note, just for a little bit of fun here for you, your Pluto forms a trine here over to Mars. So let me tell you something. Or actually, I shouldn't. Yeah, that's exactly where it goes. So I'm just letting you know, if I'm going to be in a knife fight or an alley fight, I might pick you first. Just to let you know, Debbie.
I got you back.
Well, plus your adherence to making sure that you're of service to others. You might be like, oh no, I'll get in the way of that. And I'll be like, hey, thanks a lot. I am a Pisces and Aquarius moon, so I'll remember you. Anyway, so Andy, let's take a look at your chart, and then we're gonna overlap them a little bit. Look at where you go with this. Your Pluto is on your rising here in Libra, so you are definitely a distributor. You are somebody that's going to give it to a lot of people. You're going to make sure you want to appeal to the masses. Now, your sun is also in the 4th house, and by the way, that is the center stone for you. But I got to tell you, if you and I talk about being in a knife fight with somebody, I am not going to cross anyone. I'm not going to cross Mama Bear, because with the sun and Mars in conjunct with each other here in the 4th house, I'm not messing around with this, right? You are fairly accurate.
I'm a pretty tough broad for sure. I believe in taking care of your people for sure.
Listen, you are somebody that's at the backyard picnic, and then when you see your kid getting picked on, you said, hold my wine slushy, and you go take care of it, right?
And other people's kids too.
There it is. That's that Pluto sitting on top of your, or right next to it in your 1st house. You're very much about equality. You're very much, wanting to make sure that people have everything that they need. You're a big tool component. Like, you like to make sure people have the tools. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
You also fight with facts, kind of a big deal.
Mercury, and intuition.
Well, by the way, both of you have a high level of intuition because your sun is in your 4th house. Both of you. We'll talk more about that in a second. But the intuitive part of it is kind of interesting, because where Debbie has her moon in the 12th house, which makes her very much like, hey, I'm going to be very intuitive. Your moon is in the 11th house. So not only are you talking about power to the people, you feel like you need to be of structure to everyone. That is the reason why you get along with teachers. That is the reason why you get along with police officers, anybody in anything that's in like a judicious context, because even in the 10th house with Pluto or with Jupiter in Leo in your 10th house, you are about expanding minds, expanding the society, making sure everybody gets what they need. I'm sorry, what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm a teacher.
Yeah, and you're married to a?
He works at a bank.
Yeah, close enough. Close enough. Survey?
My dad was a police officer.
There it is. So that connection there kind of like gives you guys very, Andy, this is like a highly intuitive thing. And by the way, you played around with the idea of doing homeschooling, but you were like, did you try and do something that was like homeschooling for the masses?
No, but that's interesting that you say that, because I'm in discussions about that.
First of all, it's called Funny You Should Say That. Can we get that right?
Yeah.
Second of all, you have Vesta sitting here in your 4th, but it's also in Aquarius. So you may want to discuss that. And again, don't divulge anything. I just want to say, you can give me confirmation here. That in your natal chart means that you might bring a higher level of understanding and education, and you might include other components that are missed in an education system. Does that make sense?
Yep.
There you go. It's in your chart. And it's funny how when Debbie, when you and I talked about the moon being in your 12th house and that characteristic of you saying, you know, why can't we all just get along? That's what drives you, Debbie. Now, what drives Andy is to be like, we can do better than this. Like your logo, where Debbie's logo is, we should just find a commonality here, right? Where Andy, you're walking in and you're going, is this the best we can do? Are you kidding me?
You're killing me right now.
That's what I do. I have a book and a YouTube channel. By the way, the book is called Funny You Should Say That, which is why we branded it.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
There you go, Andy. You're new to the channel. Okay, great. So listen,
no,
now we're gonna
not that new, but yeah, it's kind of mind blowing.
I should probably pitch it more. So let's take a look at the two of you together. So again, from an education standpoint here, what's happening is Debbie's chart is on the inside of the wheel. Andy's is on the outside. How it's calibrated when you do a comparison chart like this, right? This is also known as Synastry. It's pronounced a couple of different ways. Take Andy's chart and then move it to be in alignment to 0, 0, 28, 26 Libra. Then all the other planets kind of fall into place. That's why your date, your time of birth is so important, right? The things that jump out at me, this is what I would say is your equalities, the things that are very similar. If you take a look at the 4th house here, you both have the sun in the 4th house. Well, guess what? You're both about family. You also have that mama bear attitude where Mercury is sitting in that 4th house. You're both going to defend family like it's everything, right? Especially when you come together. This is why the two of you would get along, right? Now, the challenges as to why you wouldn't get along, and by the way, I know you're going to get along. You both have that in your personality. I want you to take a look at the Uranus, which is this blue U in the 11th house for Debbie, and then this blue U at 20 degrees Scorpio. Now, it's not a full square, but it's getting close, right? It's kind of surpassed it just a little bit. But this angle right here is saying to you, Debbie might be a little bit unpredictable for Andy, because Andy likes it a little bit practical. She wants to know what she's getting into. Debbie is going to say like, don't you want to help everybody? And then Debbie would say, I got a great idea. And then Andy would say, what is it? Andy's going to want facts. Debbie's going to go, I got this. But wait, there's more.
That's funny.
Because how you guys would actually argue is very interesting. You take a look at Mars. And Mars for Debbie is here in the 7th house in Aries. By the way, like I said, going into an alley fight, Debbie, you are a #1 draft pick, right? And by the way, you don't act on it often. You don't get angry with people often. You really don't. Mm-hmm. But if you have to defend somebody, you will burn the house down, right?
Scorched earth.
Exactly. Scorched earth. I'm sorry. Some of us are from Canada. We don't want to bring up that right now. And some of us want to visit Hawaii.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all right. Let's make up later. So then you have that fixed energy square to the fixed energy that Andy has here at 27 degrees Capricorn. Well, guess what? That is a match made in don't move into my neighborhood unless I tell you. In other words, you guys have got to be the two dogs that are like, I don't know if you smell okay. I don't want to go into graphic detail, but they check each other out, right? However, once it passes the part for Andy, if Debbie comes in and is like, hey, I made everybody brownies, I want to be friends with everybody, you're like, that Mars and Aries in the 7th house isn't anything to worry about. Oh, just don't tick her off. Andy can walk away with that going, you're not going to be a threat to my family? We're good. We're good, everybody. Well, let's flip that around. And by the way, you guys have never had any trouble with neighbors moving in and not giving you Rice Krispie treats or something, right?
No.
Yeah, there you go. So then we put Andy on the inside and Debbie is on the outside. Again, you still have, take a look at the 4th house. The sun is really kind of in conjunct with one another. And there is, and by the way, the difference between why they're not right on top of each other is one of you was born at 12:05 and the other one was born 23 hours later. Kind of interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So again, just to recap, Andy is taking a look at how do we bring power to the people, which by the way, in Debbie's saying, hey, listen, why can't we all get along? Andy's approach is going to be much more about like, well, I'm going to make sure everybody's equal, right? Debbie's like, why don't we share the M&Ms? Andy's like, give me the M&Ms. I'm going to do this right. Right? Both have the same philosophy. It's just how you approach it. Now, take a look at Debbie's Mars in the 7th house here, applying it to the 4th house here. It still has the exact same play. However, reverse the roles. When you take a look at where Debbie is here to that Mars, her approach is going to be much more about, can't we just kind of like, hey, I was kind of wondering, we'd be a good team, wouldn't we? So this one of them would look at you, Debbie would look at you as a teammate, Andy. Andy, you're going to come into it as in like, I hope this woman gets that you don't mess with my kids. So Debbie would approach it from a, hey, we got a lot. We work good together, Forrest. You and me, we're going to lean up against one another. Andy's going to look at it as in like, why should I trust you? And part of that reason has everything to do with your conjunction to the sun, right? Huge difference here. Because the sun, she's coming at you personally. She sees you for who you are. She's going to admire you. That's a given. Interestingly enough, too, remember that whole thing about, hey, why is she so unpredictable? By nature, you have Uranus in opposition. And again, this is in the 10th house for you, Andy. Mm-hmm. It's Debbie's Uranus is in your 10th house, which means that the thing that you're going to think of the most with her is, hey, she's going to go about it unusually. She's a little bit of a rebel, and you may appreciate her for that. So you're going to appreciate her for those reasons. Plus, look at how close your Mercuries come together. This is actually in a relationship, in a friendship. This is amazing. You have Mercury right on top of each other in the communication house. Guess what? You two are sitting up all night. You're playing canasta until 3 a.m. You're finishing a box of wine. Everything's funny to you, right? By the way, Debbie, isn't that one of your favorite memories of all time? Staying up all night, hanging out, playing cards, sitting with friends?
Absolutely. Yes.
It's in your chart.
The drinking wine part too.
There we go. I'm also a recovery coach. All right. So with that in mind, now take a look at where the moons then light up. And again, don't forget that if you were to move the dial, Debbie's moon wouldn't be in the 11th house. It would be in the 12th house. So I'm going to go back and forth here, just focused in on the moon. Just pay attention to the 11th house and the 12th house. So in this relationship, right, Debbie is on the outside sitting in the acquaintances. Now, are you guys going to be the deepest of friends? Maybe not, but you're going to love each other's time together. This moon in Virgo, you guys both have a high standard and you both meet it because you guys share a lot of the same values. And then guess what? You're there to be like, what Debbie would represent to you, Andy, is she is a foundational person, somebody that gets you in your network. She's also bringing in Pluto, which is allowing you to be like, you know what? She's a good organizer. By the way, Debbie might be the organizer in this relationship because of that Pluto placement, right? But then again, so could Andy, because Andy has Pluto sitting here. So you guys, if you're going to have conflict, it's like, no. I'll make the Rice Krispie treats. You guys are going to fight over, no. I'll get the, and then you'll both secretly kind of say like, why I volunteer for the wine? Because I'm not drinking that Kendall Jackson shit anymore or whatever, right? Like there's a little cattiness here, just a little bit. But let me go backwards. Let me go backwards here and then show where Debbie is on the inside and Andy is on the outside. Well, here we go. So where Debbie was fulfilling a network, a friendship, a connection, what Andy is bringing to you, Debbie, is maybe something spiritual, another person to learn from. Because when the moon moves into the 12th house here, it's not conjunct. That's kind of cool, actually. You're outside of being conjunct. With the moon, you want to be within 8 degrees. You know, you're at 12 degrees. You're outside of that. However, Saturn shows up, which is a great teacher. That combination here in the 12th house might actually present to you that guess what? Guess what? You could learn something from her. There might be a spiritual thing. And by the way, she might not be the spiritual teacher for you, but she may say, hey, you know, oh, this is a philosophy that I have. Oh, I never knew that. Another fun thing about this, take a look at the 11th house again. And I keep going, Debbie, I keep going back to your rebellion. I really do. Are you a flower child by nature, by the way?
Pardon me, that last part, it was breaking up a little bit. Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Are you a flower child?
Probably. I was horticulture is my career for 40 years, so
it's in your chart.
Technically and spiritually. Yeah.
Listen,
is it really interesting?
Well, and what's interesting about this is the reason why I'm using the flower child thing is because you are one with nature all the way through.
Yes.
So
1000%.
And when Andy shows up here with her Jupiter over Uranus for you, she just listen, Andy's a little instigator. Andy is showing up going, come on, do it. Come on. She's the one at the concert going, I will pay for your ticket if Luke Bryant holds up your bra. That's how this is going down. That's Andy. That's Andy to you. Listen, did I choose the right guy? Luke Bryant? Is
that's you know what? I am a fan of country music. Yes, I am.
Mwah, fantastic. Well, but that's the encouragement. What's that, Debbie?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Debbie's like, I don't really need to be encouraged to throw my bra at Luke Bryant, but here we are. But
I like him on American Idol is kind of where I like it from.
There you go. He can stay on TV. But here's the thing with it, though. The point is that Andy's going to unlock things that will challenge you in a good way, that will give you a better spiritual understanding, to give you that challenge to be. Everybody's got that one friend. Everybody's got that one person that you'll look for to be like, good idea, bad idea, I'm in. Andy could represent that to you. And then vice versa. You know, Debbie, you're the one that's like, hey, I'm going to be a steady Eddie. And you stabilize Andy from just be like, she can be crazy with you and not feel like threatened. And then vice versa. You can be like, oh, let's kind of do this. Let's sort of do this the right way. And then Andy's like, oh, no, you're not. You're getting up on that stage. Right. But at the end of the day, the things that you're not going to risk, you're not going to insult one another. You know why? Because you understand what an insult means. Your communication is real. Right. And by the way, when Debbie is the center of the chart, look at what happens with the moon, or look at what happens with Mercury. You know, Mercury moves over here to the 4th house. So you guys are very good for one another because you would communicate a little bit differently in different ways with the different ideas connected to it. This is a really cool comparison. I kind of like this. Oh, and by the way,
It's really neat.
Yeah, Andy's Venus is over your Saturn. So guess what? Andy's going to show you, Debbie, why you're so good at being you.
You know what, Brandon?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Penny, yeah. I had a reading with Penny at the middle of July, and she said that was one of the things that I am here to do.
Hey, how am I doing?
Make people believe in themselves.
And guess what? Penny and I did not talk about this. You guys were completely random on my feed, and you just shared that your sun, moon, rising were the same, and I compared it. That's great, though. That's great validation. So Saturn in Sagittarius, more importantly, actually, in this case for Life Path, in your 3rd house is about saying, hey, listen, you got to enjoy life a little bit. You got to loosen up a little bit. it's funny where Debbie has these things of like, I just want to keep it simple. I just want to keep it simple. Can we all get along? Let's just plant the flowers. Let's let the sunflowers come up. Debbie, why are they showing me a ton of sunflowers behind you right now?
Bouncy for me, you guys.
Yeah, Debbie, do you have a lot of sunflowers behind you?
It's not behaving.
Okay, well, hang on for a second. But again, having this be where you're getting validation from this from more than one astrologer. First of all, I'm glad I got it right, because if Penny said it, it's true. But second of all, hey Debbie, hang on, it'll come back, love. So one of the things to really kind of understand is that astrology talks about our personalities, and that even though there's triads, there's still an opportunity for people to understand that there's differences within that, but where the placements are incredibly important.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very key thing to that, to how astrology works. And this is one of those things. Debbie's jumping back on here.
Bounced me out.
Hello,
Am I back?
love. Yes, you're back. Perfect. You didn't miss a thing. Andy was just saying how incredible you are. And then, but my point was being, into this is that the triad is static, but where they end in your houses and where the other planets are, then create the lexicon of how you go about things. You guys are both pretty similar, but you're nowhere near the same person. You approach it not only from different missions, but also different ways of life and how you see it. That's part of what makes us so unique. And that's the reason why you should take a look at astrology whenever you get an opportunity to not only understand yourself, but then also see how things are. We mentioned Penny. You can find her at pennydix.com. But if you're looking to do a life chart and take a look at your natal and then take a look at where it is that you're going, go ahead and find me at tbrandonruss.com. Go ahead and click on the information about booking and blah, 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 all that other stuff. I'm terrible at selling myself, but thank you for keeping me busy. But this is the work that you need to do to understand your astrology. It's one thing to be a hobbyist and listen to all these videos. But if you want to get down to why it is that you are built the way you are and who you're meant to help, now we're talking business. So, guys, what do you think about this chart comparison? What do you think about
it? I think it was absolutely, again, I'll use the word astounding, because it's given you're a psychic as well, but still when you're just reading the chart, that's pretty spot on. Very fun. Thank you.
Well, the work that I do is I help people on their path. So when I connect with people, I want to make sure it helps you on your path. Andy, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's amazing. I just honestly like the validation in knowing that things are the way that they are. And, we have free will and all that sort of thing, but like there's a blueprint, right? And we are here to like deeply know ourselves so that we can then take that gift out into the world. And that is what I absolutely love about astrology. And I love seeing different astrologers interpret things in their way, but still telling me the same things. I love it.
And I'm going to say this. Debbie totally answered that with Mercury sitting here in the 4th house. And of course, with Saturn in the 3rd house going like, wow, this is amazing. Andy answered it with Mercury in the 3rd house. And oh, by the way, pay attention to Libra here. Libra with Pluto sitting there. And then Jupiter sitting there. Debbie just answered it as in like, wow, this just opened up a whole other world. Right? I mean, think about this. Debbie's answer was literally like a whole new world. Like you guys are stepping up and stepping out, right? And then Andy answers it as in like, power to the people. It's a blueprint. You want to figure this out, there you are. How you act and behave is in your chart. That is the purpose of this entire conversation. And I am so honored to have you guys here. Were you guys surprised when I like legitimately said, send me an email and I'm going to bring you on? Were you guys like, holy crap, is he really doing this?
No, because I love doing the chats when I catch a live and to like connect with somebody. I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, look at this. And then we're having our own personal conversation. And then you just happen to be there. You happen to just jump into our conversation.
Right. There you go. Debbie, did you think I was going to follow through on this? Nope, she's out of here. See you later, bud. Mwah. Well, listen, I'm going to sign off. I want to thank you guys for being a part of things. Andy and Debbie, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your most intimate details about your chart for comparison and teaching reasons. I'm going to give you guys the heart tap to remind one another that we love and care for each other and to simply keep going. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brendan.
All right.
Nice to see you, Debbie.
Debbie, we're going to get you back on. Don't you worry, kid. She's on the side of a mountain, everybody. She's literally crawling in the middle of like a hurricane. It's all good. See you guys soon.